I realized that, hey, every adversity that you do see in business or in your career path, there is an equal or greater opportunity outside of that. And we all know this because if you've understood that there's abundance in your life, it's because at some point you had lack. If something's easy at some point, it's because at some point it was hard. We're all learning, we're all growing at all times. So starting out in business, there was a lot of adversity, and then I realized that, hey, I can actually get excited about that because it's a learning lesson, not even only just for myself, but to share with other people later on down the road. No struggle, no story. When I started in this industry and looking at what I was wanting to do within the industry, even just based on past experience in business, I was looking at, hey, there are examples of people growing, there are good examples of mentorship and whatnot. Knowing that, hey, there is failure and success in business. However, if I was able to reach out to whoever I could that was succeeding in business and connect with them, my failure or success wasn't really a question mark. My success was automatic because if I was willing to apply what they were telling me what to do, I knew that I was going to be on a similar growth strategy. A lot of times I just look at whatever I'm doing, I don't really understand the mentality of, well, if someone else is not doing well, I'm not going to, and just automatically defaulting to that thought process. You know, just because somebody's not doing well or doing the right things all the time doesn't mean that I have to follow that suit. I think, and this is something that I've held true for a long, long time in business, is the thought process. I can learn from the healthy and I can learn from the sick as well, just making sure that I don't associate with those same habits of those that are not doing well. So how I succeeded in that environment was looking for more what was missing and seeing how I could fulfill those holes within the environment, just because, hey, if there is something missing, I could be the one who predicates the success of fulfilling those roles with my strengths and my unique talents after realizing what those are. The reality is that long term, if you're playing a long-term business game, you're going to need to have some sort of humility to where you're continuously learning and you're continuously growing. So one of my mentors in business actually told me very early on that leadership is not spelled the way you think it is. It's spelled EXAMPLE, being an example. So bad habits I saw maybe were people that weren't willing to do that and maybe not keeping that current credibility long term. But I realized that also the opposite of that could be actually a strength in business for me and a habit that I could continue on, which was just being an example and being in front. It's the most important thing. So setting the example is very, very important because without being an example, everything else fails. The other thing as well is that you don't have the personal conviction to lead other people if you're not being a personal example, and whether it's at home or whether it's in business or any endeavor that you're doing. So it's starting, with your personal characteristics as well. I always say character over credentials is the most important thing in business. So just from all my experience in life, in whether it be sports arenas or in my career, I noticed that not everybody has an equal effort level, so they're not going to have an equal outcome. And I think it's a very clear example in sports, right? We all probably played a sport through high school or through middle school or, earlier even. And not everybody went further on in that sport arena. However, that doesn't mean that I'm going to not be able to do that. And so I never really looked at reviews of something because statistics matter in some areas of business, but the reality is if somebody wants to win at a high level, the statistics are never going to matter for them specifically. If you look at any high-level athlete or high-level Olympian, the stats for them succeeding when they start doing something, very, very, very low. But if they were to pay attention to those stats, they probably would never become the great that they became. A lot of people, first of all, aren't educated on business at a very early educational level, and that's totally okay. But eventually you're going to get into the business world and realize that, hey, there's a lot of people that are getting into business not realizing that most businesses need people to grow. If you look at any large corporation and you look at any successful industry, they're predicated on the fact that they have great people within them. Every business is going to grow at any time, is going to have people growing within that organization. And hey, it's going to be the business that has more people that have more great talents that are actually going to grow the fastest. It has nothing to do with the specific industry. I've been in this industry for a while, and the way it's developed me long term, and I've seen the healthy, I've seen the sick, and I've seen a lot of ups and downs. I think there's a certain tenacity that you need if you're going to be successful in really anything, but specifically business, because if you're going to own a business or if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you're going to have people counting on you. And the way my start has impacted my business today is I've seen a lot of people not have the ability to push through a certain adversity. And then at some point I realized, from a lot of networking and associating with the right types of people, I realized that, hey, every adversity that you do see in business or in your career path, there is an equal or greater opportunity outside of that. And we all know this because if you've understood that there's abundance in your life, it's because at some point you had lack. If something's easy at some point, it's because at some point it was hard. We're all learning, we're all growing at all times. So starting out in business, there was a lot of adversity, and then I realized that, hey, I can actually get excited about that because it's a learning lesson, not even only just for myself, but to share with other people later on down the road. No struggle, no story.